So guys, if you're shopping for a Mercedes for your next car, you may have come across the wording MBUX. Now MBUX is Mercedes-Benz's multimedia system found in the latest cars. But did you know, depending on the model of car, there's actually two versions of MBUX. One is called NTG6 and one is called NTG7, or what I like to call version 1 and version 2. Now these aren't just software upgrades, these are a completely different multimedia system, and there are 10 key differences you need to know about these two different multimedia systems. So let's start at number 1, which refers to the different screen sizes you can get on these two systems. So yes, at number 1 are the screen designs and screen sizes. So this here is NTG6, or MBUX version 1, what I like to call. Basically it goes across the entire dashboard like this. Now depending on the specification, there were options for either 7 inches or 10.25 inches for the MBUX multimedia system. However, when you look at NTG7, this is where the screen sizes get interesting. Now NTG7 looks like this, with either an 11.9 inch display or a 12.8 inch display in an S-Class. Or if you want to go for something that's out of this world, why not go for one that's 55 inches across? So yes, 55 inches across. This is the MBUX Hyperscreen. So yes, there's varying different screen sizes here that you can get in the Mercedes-Benz, but NTG6 typically has a widescreen going across the dashboard. NTG7 is typically a portrait screen, although you can opt for this in a couple of models called an MBUX Hyperscreen, which is literally just 55 inches across the entire dashboard. Admittedly, there are 3 screens here. There's the instrument cluster, multimedia system, and of course the passenger display as well. So that's the screen sizes out of the way with. Let's have a look at some of these features. Now, when it comes to a thing called a 360-degree camera, depending on if you have NTG6 or NTG7, so version 1 or version 2, will determine how clever that 360-degree camera is. So on this version, NTG6, when you pop it in reverse, you'll get your usual camera come on a little bit like this here. Now at the moment, granted I have got the door open here at the moment with a light in my camera, so one of the angles will look a little bit odd just because I've got the door open. But yeah, when you go to reverse, you'll kind of get your bird's eye view a bit like this here, giving you a complete overview of the entire car, which is pretty good. And there's various different camera angles over here on the left hand side. One of them you can even select and see your wheels, which is pretty good. NTG7 though takes this to a completely different level, where you can actually, for one, get the camera to come on based on your GPS location. You can also, in 3D space, move your camera around the car literally just with your finger and zoom in and out as well, and even see your indicators flashing. It's very, very, very detailed. So yeah, huge difference between these two. NTG6 has kind of fixed camera views, but NTG7 allows you to literally move it all around, either automatically or manually in 3D space around your car. Now another neat feature is a thing called zero layer. Now this is only present on the newer multimedia systems, so NTG7, but it's very, very clever, because you know how like when you get in a new car or something like that and there's buttons and screens everywhere and you're not sure where everything is? Zero layer simplifies that process by kind of showing you stuff, like on the screen here, in this kind of L shape that kind of goes this way. Say for example, every day you went to work and you got out of the car and went into the boot to get something. It can ask you that on the screen here, would you like to open the boot? Or first time I sat in the car, you know, you want to connect your phone, or say you navigate to a certain place every day. It'll ask you and kind of suggest stuff on the screen based on what you do each day. So it's very, very clever. Now the previous system did have suggestions, but it was kind of down the page a bit, whereas this is a more prominent feature on this new multimedia system. Now NTG6 first introduced profiles in their proper form, where you can have up to 6 or 7 users with your own settings. So say for example you get in the car and you've got your own favourites for your sat-nav, for your radio, your ambient lighting the way you want it. Some cars even memorise the seating as well, screen layouts, so really, really cool. But NTG7 introduced a fingerprint sensor down in this area, or in this area here if it's the portrait styled screen. But the fingerprint sensor is pretty good. You can sign in with a PIN code as well. Even S-Class, I've seen this facial recognition, so you literally get into the car, it will scan your face using sensors here and loads up all your settings. All about that luxury experience. Now for those of you that are fans of using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, did you know there is a difference between NTG6 and NTG7? So NTG6, it is a wired experience, so you have to wire it in and plug it into one of the USB-C ports to use it, mainly because NTG6 does not have a wireless receiver. When it comes to NTG7, they have a wireless receiver built in, which means, just like this here, we've got Apple CarPlay on the screen, and well, my phone is back here recording the screen. It's amazing what smartphones do these days, doing two things at once. But yeah, basically that is recording that screen there, and it's got CarPlay on the screen without a wire connected. So that is because NTG7 has a wireless receiver built in. So just in case, obviously factor that in if you wanted wireless Apple CarPlay. Keep an eye out for a car that's got NTG7 with a portrait screen or that awesome hyper screen. Now for the next one, I just wanted to very quickly cover this, which is the next track button. So a few of you have mentioned before about the lack of a next track button on the steering wheel. It's a very similar thing though. You can put one there. You basically just need to select media in the middle using this instrument cluster, and then you can swipe left or right to control either previous track or next track. But NTG7, because it doesn't have a kind of touchpad in the middle, there are next track buttons and previous track buttons literally there just in the middle of the screen. And this part of the screen here doesn't change. Even when you go to Apple CarPlay, those are there as well. So that is obviously quite welcome to see, because then you've got literally just next track, previous track, just literally a button away. Now another huge part with the key differences between NTG6 and NTG7 is the instrument cluster customization. So the instrument cluster being the screen directly behind the steering wheel. So basically on NTG6, you of course have your dials there just like normal, just like NTG7, but you can change certain elements. So on NTG6, you can change the left dial, the center dial, and the right dial. And to do this, all you do is quite simply swipe left or right on the touchpad on the steering wheel. So if you swipe left, you can control this one and change this up and down to various different things like showing the time or MPG or kind of total trip information, music, and sometimes SUV information, off-road information as well. It all depends really. Then you can swipe right and change the middle one, make the speed nice and big, go to the right hand side and change elements over here. Now NTG7 doesn't actually allow you to change each individual dial, but it does have preset themes and does have a trick up its sleeve where you can make the sat-nav literally full screen across the instrument cluster in front of you. But it's just something to consider that you can't actually change the individual dials on the instrument cluster on NTG7 as they are preset themes. Now another thing to notice is the steering wheel design. Now technically this isn't the multimedia system, but I have noticed on cars with NTG7, so the portrait screen or the hyper screen, you have these kind of steering wheels with this kind of either twin spoke design or basically all touchpad controls on the steering wheel. But compare this with NTG6 like this, it's kind of a mix of both. You've got touchpads on the top and then you've got buttons underneath. So user preference again, if you prefer touch controls then maybe NTG7, but then if you prefer kind of a mix of both with some buttons then maybe NTG6 is the way to go. Now up next is for anyone who has an EV, so an electric vehicle with NTG7, so the portrait screen or potentially the hyper screen. Now on selected cars you can choose a thing called sound experience, and basically this is kind of replicating what an engine sound would make on the interior of an EV, but in kind of like a futuristic way, because obviously EVs are like completely silent. And in this there are two. There's one called Silver Waves and Vivid Flux. So let's have a listen. Yeah, so this one is Silver Waves. Now this is quite funny as well if you rev the car. Looks like surround sound. It goes all the way back over here as well. Mystical. What about Vivid Flux? Well, I mean, that just sounds like a Star Wars pod racer or something. Now, maybe this might be showing my age, but I would love that in my car. I'd probably have it on all the time. So, well, I have seen one here on. I swear when I covered this before, it only had interior sounds. This one has outside sound experience as well. So I haven't actually managed to take one out on the road since I've seen that. I wonder what it sounds like when you're driving around. But Yeah, that's obviously one thing you can do with sound experience. You can have silver waves or viviflux. I think there's certain AMGs that also have a different sound as well, so maybe one day I might be able to try it out and see what it sounds like on the road. But yeah, that is that one. What is that sound outside? Is that coming from the back? Oh, there's like a speaker at the back making some kind of like, I'd describe it as like almost spa music. It sounds pretty cool. Maybe it's to let you know what the ride's going to be like in this luxurious model when you take it out on the road. Now up next guys, this is the final thing, and this one is called ZYNC. Now ZYNC is a separate company to Mercedes, but they entered into a partnership earlier last year. And basically what they're trying to do is kind of bring your kind of entertainment in the car up to its max potential. Basically, say for example you have this car like an EQS and you're charging on a rapid charger for 30 or so minutes. What you'll be able to do is access some streaming services and watch movies and content and TV series and things like that, and even games that I've read as well on your car's multimedia system. Now I don't know which model it's going to be compatible with, because annoyingly, as always at the bottom, it can vary from country to country, I've read. So that would be really good to see, and I'm sure I'll cover that on my channel if I get my hands on one. So I don't know if it includes things like Netflix or Amazon Instant Prime or Disney Plus or Hulu for in America or anything, but we'll have to see. So that'd be really good. Obviously you'll be able to watch your favourite movies and stuff in the car potentially in the future. So guys, hopefully those key differences will help, just in case you're looking at a couple of Mercedes-Benz models and one has NTG6 and one has NTG7. So if you liked what you saw, don't forget that like button down below and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more future videos just like this. And as always, huge shout out to Sandown Mercedes, as they help provide access to all these awesome cars you see in the videos. Until next week guys, see you then.